So I said to Bobby, I want to have children. And he said, I don't even want to live with anybody. Maybe I'd live on the same street.
This wasn't a red flag, Harriet.
And I thought, I can change him. And
as we all do.
This is probably really bad advice, but I just sometimes think, just have the baby. You know, like Mabel is the best thing that's ever happened to me. We were meant to have Mabel. It was just meant to happen. And that's been a really helpful reframing of the divorce and everything, that she was just meant to happen, you know. Bobby was kind of down at that end, and I said, what does she look like? And he went, don't worry about it, we'll see. Because he didn't know. And so he just looked like this squidge, like this just like alien sack was coming out of me. And people saying, you know, you should stay together for the kids and all this kind of thing like that is such a big rhetoric that's still around, and I just disagree with it so strongly. I want her to grow up with a higher bar, I guess, of what is good enough, so that she doesn't have to have a child in order to see that. It's so important that you're your happiest, best self. Now she's going to see two healthy, functioning adults, and sorry, this is the most emotional interview I've ever done.
I'm so sorry that I've done this to you.
I think that's such an admirable thing. I'm so sorry. I have this alarm on my watch that goes off.
How often?
It goes off hourly. Once every 24 hours, a full alarm goes off. And I have 3 of these watches, and they're all around the house in different places. And I don't know how to stop it. And people try, and I need it for stand-up, and people have tried to teach me how to stop it, and it doesn't work. So hopefully this will be under an hour, and it won't happen again. I'm so sorry.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today's guest is a writer, she's a podcaster, she's a stand-up comedian who has appeared on The Last One Laughing and had me in tears. She's also the mum of one little girl. It's Harriet Kemsley.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I mean, it must be weird because I, you know, we've all seen you around for a long, long time, but suddenly there's this programme that it feels like a lot of people needed. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly everyone is talking about The Last One Laughing.
Yeah, it's been nuts because you just do things and you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everyone was like, oh, I saw you do that ping pong show. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't think that through in any way. But no, it's been so fun. And yeah, that's what everyone has said. It's that they kind of watched it and they could escape for a bit, which is so nice.
I think it was magical to have a bunch of comedians who are so on top of their game, just being together and having fun.
I think that's it. They really let us be silly. I think so often with TV, sometimes they can panic and they can try and really like control it. And it was a chance that we could all kind of really be ourselves while also trying to stifle a huge part of our personality, which is laughter. So yeah, it was genuinely at points harrowing, but I'm glad everyone enjoyed it.
Were you able to watch it back and laugh at the bits that you couldn't laugh at previously?
Yeah, I hate watching myself, but I did. I mean, clips come up everywhere, so you can't really escape it. But yeah, I do. I mean, I love watching everyone else on it. It's really fun, and then seeing everyone's reactions, and then seeing what everyone is saying about you behind the scenes as well. There's so many levels to it. You know, it's crazy.
I love it so much. Where did you grow up? What was childhood like?
I grew up in Canterbury in Kent.
Beautiful place.
It's lovely, yeah, just outside on a farm. And so yeah, my dad was a farmer, and so yeah, I grew up kind of running around fields and stuff. I was a bit of the odd one out, I guess. I was telling you earlier that I'm vegetarian, and so it was a family of very much meat eaters.
Well, what kind of farm was it?
It was an arable farm, so it was like wheat and like raspberries and pears and stuff. But they very much were of the farming community. So when I became vegetarian, they were like, this is mad. What are you talking about? So yeah, I was a little bit of an oddball in this environment, I guess.
Were you a bit of an oddball outside of just what you ate?
Yes, I think that would be fair to say. Yes, but I would always try and fit in, and then it wouldn't quite work. I was also very shy when I was younger. think it's because I have dyspraxia. Like I got diagnosed with that when I was older, and that's really helped kind of frame myself a bit, because I always felt like I was saying the wrong thing, or I would be trying to be really together and then just like knock something over. So it just always felt like I was on the verge of humiliating myself.
Yeah.
Which, you know, when you learn how to laugh at that, it's very fun. But when you're a kid, you're like, oh my God, this is this is so dumb.
So at what point did comedy become a thing for you then? Because that's really putting yourself out there.
Yeah. What is wrong with me?
But it's funny, isn't it? Like go from that shy kid, and then I get that, you know, when I always feel like comics have a really tough time in terms of when you're out and about. It must feel a little bit like, come on, make me laugh, you know. And actually, that's who you are when you are doing your stand up, or you know.
I think it's been very freeing in a way, because I would just struggle making small talk with people that I didn't really know. Like that was so much of my childhood, and even like I went to university, and like, I found that so hard. And then I started doing stand-up, and it was this way of, and I was always fine with like friends and like people that I knew well, like that I trusted. But when I started doing stand-up, it was just a way that I could connect with people, and it was like I could say something and people would hear me and laugh, and then it kind of gave me this confidence. And I feel like I'm almost a completely different person now. It's like, because I can show that side of me, which it was, I've said this before, but it was my parents' idea that I did stand up.
Really?
Yeah, no other comedian has ever said. They were like, other comedians are like, oh, my parents want me to be a doctor, and mine are like, I guess our only hope is a comedian. But they were like, just stupid things happen to you, and it's always really funny. And so they saw this side of me that only the people like really close to me that would see. Like strangers would be a bit like, what is wrong with this woman? I don't understand. They were always so supportive in that way of do what makes you happy. And I think that's I know a lot of people who don't have that from parents. And so I'm so grateful to them for that, because to encourage me to go into stand-up now as a parent is mad. Like you think but people at nursery like say about my daughter that she's funny, and I'm like, she's going into the sciences, you know. So to think of them being so supportive and kind and compassionate and really like see me, even though that would be a very scary choice, is very nice.
It's incredible.
I mean, to be fair, I was never particularly good at jobs that I'd had.
What jobs have you had? Come on.
My first proper job was at Debenhams. I worked in the children's wear department.
Nice.
But I turned up an hour late after an all-night rave dressed as a pirate. And so
I used to work in a Debenhams. Did you forget your lilac shirt? Is that what happened?
I forgot my lilac shirt, you know, with your little name badge. I forgot that, and then I fell asleep on the shop floor. And so it was mutually agreed that I should leave. So it's like things like that that made it tricky, so it's just very sweet. I originally wanted to do acting, like that was the thing that I found, and it was a way of kind of that thing of connecting with people and making people laugh and being part of a community. I really liked that, and then the stand up was a way of controlling it, I guess. Like it's a way of you can do it every single night and you're not waiting. Like acting, there is a horrible side of it, which is that you're waiting for somebody to pick you, whereas stand-up, you have complete control. You write it, you perform it, you're in control of your life. And so I prefer that much more. Like things can come and go and things can come up, which is wonderful, but you can continue for the rest of your life to work on a craft and to get better and better and better at it, and sometimes worse and then better, you know. Like it's I really like that aspect of it.
When you were younger, did you ever look to your future and think, oh, you know what, I really want to be a mum?
I don't know if I properly started thinking about it in my 20s. Like my mum was such a good mum. Like she's so good and she's so present. She's so good at thinking of all the things that you need to be a mum. And I didn't know if I was going to have all of those things. Like I'm not the most aware of things, and I was so worried that I would not be responsible enough to have a child. And then when I was in my early 20s, I got told that I had polycystic ovaries and it was going to be potentially very difficult for me to have a child. And so I should, if I wanted to do it, I should do it soon. So
how did that feel?
It felt so scary because I think I knew deep down that I definitely wanted to have children, but then in your head, I was just thinking, I'm not in a place where I'm capable of doing that. Like my 20s were absolute chaos. Like I could barely look after myself. And so the thought of bringing a child into that mix was kind of impossible. Not to mention that I wasn't with anyone at the time that was interested in having children with me. Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, I knew I did know deep down that is something that I wanted. But it was something, I think, from that moment, I think I thought about when was the right time to have a child almost daily.
Really?
It took up so much headspace of don't leave it too late, but don't, you make sure that you've got your career and you've got something to fall back on and you've got this. I think for women it can, and some men I imagine, probably not because they've got forever, but you're thinking about it all the time. Like, when am I going to do this?
And plus, when you've got a PCOS diagnosis, it is that thing of, that even when you do go, I think I'm ready, or I think we should start trying, you don't know what that's going to look like.
That's exactly it. And I will say, because it felt so scary when they said that to me, and I was very lucky, and I went to go and see this women's health specialist, and she put me on this medication that helps, and I did get pregnant relatively quickly. I'm touching wood, and I know that's not the case for everybody, but I just wanted to say that in case there is anyone there that is spiraling about it. Like, somebody did tell me that one of the things with polycystic ovaries is that you do create a lot of follicles, and so if you do have help, there is pills and there's medication and there's ways around it that mean that it can happen if you get the help. So if anyone is worried about it, speak to somebody, because there are things that can help. Like, it's not like an extremely gloomy situation all the time.
And it's changed a lot over the years. Like, I can remember when I was first diagnosed, it was that my friend very kindly gave me this book of, like a Bible of what you should and shouldn't eat with PCOS, and it starts with all the stuff that you should not be doing. And
everything.
Everything. And I just remember being so angry, like, why do I have to do it? This, like, why has this got to be my reality? Yeah. But one thing that did really help me, and I know it sounds really ridiculous, I started Googling people in the public eye who have said that they've got polycystic ovaries and have like 10,000 children. You know what I mean? There is hope within this. Just because that there's that label doesn't mean that you're never going to. But for me, it felt like I was given this diagnosis and then a leaflet and then sent off. So there's that lack of knowledge around it as well.
Yeah, you're told that it might be really difficult, and then you're just alone with it, with your thoughts. And yeah, so it felt... it was just something I thought about all the time. And so, yeah, I feel so lucky and thankful that it worked out.
So when you met Bobby, did you start talking about families pretty quickly or not?
Yeah. So I said to Bobby, I want to have children. And he said, I don't even want to live with anybody. Maybe I'd live on the same street.
This wasn't a red flag.
And I thought, I can change him. And
as we all do.
And now we are living almost on the same street in different houses. So listen to them, listen to what they're saying is the advice that I would give. But yeah, he was very sweet in that he was adopted, and so I think he would have been open to adopting, and I thought that I wanted to have a child. And now, like I do think about adopting like a second child, but who knows? But he was like, look, I love you and I want to be with you, and let's give it a go. And I was the one that also was like so full of worries, and what about this and what about that, and am I capable enough? And it was like, people manage it all around the world. Like, this has been happening for a long time, that's why we're here, so you'll work it out, it will be fine.
But you were together for a long time before you got pregnant.
Yeah, so we were together for maths isn't my strong point. I think almost a decade before I got pregnant. yeah. So there were many red flags that I should have adhered to before then. But I think there was something. He always says that I have a very weak immune system, and that I was attracted to him because he ate a lot of dirt as a child. So he has a very strong immune system, and so I clearly wanted to reproduce with somebody that would create a strong child. That's the only way I can possibly explain it. But yeah, it was just that we were meant to have Mabel. It was just meant to happen, and that's been a really helpful reframing of the divorce and everything, that she was just meant to happen, and so nothing could have happened at different points, and I stayed for the exact amount of time that I should have, despite all the things that suggested I shouldn't have. And that's been the most amazing thing that's come out of it.
I think that's a really great way of looking at it. Was there a point where you thought, actually, now's the right time to start trying for a baby? Because what was happening career-wise and stuff like that at the time?
So it's very tricky. It's very tricky to know when you're going to be like stable in any way. Mm-hmm. I think it had got to a point where I was making a good enough living from stand-up, and I think I felt really lucky in the fact that if I had a child, I would still need to, I love my job. I love doing it. I love doing stand-up. I love everything that comes with my job. Not everything, but most things. But that I was at a point where I would still need to do it to make money, I guess. Yeah. It wouldn't be like a selfish thing that, I would go off and do this, because it was, and actually I think that's quite an archaic way of looking at it. The comics I really respect, Esther Manito is somebody I think is such an impressive person, because she had 2 children and she started stand-up on her maternity leave. And I think that is such a hard thing to do, just because of societal pressures, to then be going out and trying to pursue something when society just wants to say, but you should, what are you doing, But she's doing the right thing, because me and Bobby always say it's really important to follow your dreams and for your child to see you following your dreams. We both think that's really important. And some of the saddest people are the people that have given up on their dreams, and children sense that, I think. And so even though it's hard and difficult, I think you should try and do that for your child to then see that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that in the clearest way.
I know, I think that was really, really clear.
And so it felt like I got to a point where I was comfortable enough with the job that it had, I'd been doing it for 10 years, and also the pandemic had happened, so my diary was empty. So
like a lot of people at that time, what should we do to fill this time?
I know. We'd bought our first place. It had taken us so long to get on the property ladder. No one wanted to sell to us. It was crazy. I don't know what was happening. And so we'd moved in with my brother and his wife for a bit. We'd kind of bought with them because they had proper jobs and we could kind of get a mortgage through them. And then we'd finally managed to get our own place. We'd got a puppy, and the puppy was kind of a test. It was like, do we like looking after something, It felt like we were so selfish.
Was it done in that way of kind of like, let's this is like a step towards?
I think that was an aspect of it. Okay. It was like we wanted a dog, but also it was like, if we like this, if we like, looking after something, that's a sign. If we don't want to sacrifice enough time for a dog, then we probably should be having a child. Do you know what I mean? And I did. I loved it so much. So I was like, okay, I can look after this dog, so maybe I can do this. And yeah, the diary was empty, and I think it would have been much harder if I could see the year and I could see what was happening, and you'd think, but what about if I was to do this at this point? There was nothing of that. So yeah, we just went for it.
And it didn't take that long, you said?
No, I was very lucky. It took a couple of months.
Was it surprising to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Talk to me about finding out.
I was, oh God, I'm gonna cry. It's just Mabel is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I took the test on my own, and I called Bobby, and he was playing golf, and I was like, you won't believe it, it's positive. And he was like so happy, and then he was like, yeah, I probably am gonna finish the golf round. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
So clear, this is not why you're crying. You're not crying now because Bobby didn't want to come home.
No, I get it. He was halfway around it, mate. He would have just had to go back again. It makes sense to keep going. No, it's just, oh God, the last couple of years have been just such a journey, and Mabel was just made my life so much better, and then I just didn't know what to do with myself. You just and so I called my sister and my friend, like a few of my friends, and I was just like just so happy, and they were like, that's great, and they were like, but we're working. So I've just been kind of sitting there just so thrilled with it.
I think I know the last couple of years have been tough, but I think it's so important that we actually look back at those happy moments and the things that have created Mabel, and that's a huge part of her childhood. And I think my mum and dad aren't together, but when I was in labour with my eldest, the two of them walked around the park next to the hospital, even though Tom said not to go anywhere. I was fine. They walked around the park and they reminisced about what it was like to have us kids, and that is so special to me that they did that they took that time. Mabel was born out of your love, and I think that's so incredible. So I think it's so important that we do look back and we reminisce about those magical times. We know that it's peppered with other stuff, and sometimes that other stuff can really overshadow. Enjoy telling.
I love hearing that. Yeah, and me and Bobby have managed to put Mabel first in everything, which I'm really proud of us about. So we do try and be a unit for her as much as possible, so that she has that, and we never speak negatively about each other in front of her. So we're really trying to do all the right things in that respect.
And it's a journey. I don't think anyone just kind of splits up and it's like, and we're best mates. Yeah. I just don't think
we tried to do that, and that was a big mistake. Yeah. We tried to do that, and then realised there were so many boundaries that had to be put in place, and so had to reset. And then now it feels like it's got to a point where it can build an actual friendship, I think.
Yeah. And there's going to be moments where it kind of feels like you're taking a step back, but you always move forward.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your pregnancy. How was it?
It was. I felt like queasy. Queasy all the time. I was very lucky that I have friends at the moment that have hyperemesis, and I didn't have that, but I just felt queasy and a bit gross a lot of the time. But I did. It was a weird thing where I did love doing stand up. Like I felt so strong on stage, and it was like I had this little buddy with me wherever I went. And I while I was pregnant, I actually found out that I got Live at the Apollo, which was something that I've been working towards for a decade. And it was actually my parents suggested I do stand up a night after they were watching Live at the Apollo, and they were like, we feel like Harriet could have done this. And so it felt like this mad thing to be doing it like a decade later while I was pregnant with my baby, that I'd met the dad through doing stand up, and now I was there. It just felt so cool. And it was like Bobby would literally have to roll me out the house. When you're doing a poly, you have to run the set so many times. And so it was so hard to get off the sofa. But when I was there, I loved it. And I think audiences, it still is, so many people just wouldn't have seen somebody pregnant on stage doing stand up. So when I did Apollo, I think I was 5 months pregnant, but I kept doing it until basically a couple of weeks before the end. I would have gone right to the end, but I did this gig at this private members club, and it was when COVID was coming back. It was that Christmas where they were like, Christmas might be cancelled. We don't know, it's coming back. So everyone was like, we're going to go crazy because we don't know when we're going to be locked down again. And then this woman, I was trying to stay away from everybody because obviously you don't want to get COVID when you're pregnant, and you're thinking about the birth and also the child. And this woman was so drunk that she kissed me on the head, and I was like, you know what, I'm staying inside from now onwards. This is, you lot are crazy. And so for the final 2 weeks I stayed inside. But yeah, it was there was something. There's something so magical about having a baby inside of you, and it felt like I knew who she was.
Really?
Before she, it's as soon as she was born, I was like, yeah, it's you. I knew who you were. It's
Did you find out that you were having a girl?
I sobbed when I found out I was having a girl. I just was like, what have I done to deserve? I just couldn't believe it. I was so happy. The whole thing just felt so, I just felt so lucky. I just couldn't believe it.
Really? Do you think that's also from years and years of worrying that it would ever happen?
Yeah, I think so. And, the worry that it might not happen to you is huge. And also as women, it's like having a partner that wants to have a child with you. There's so many factors that come into it. And so, yeah, I just couldn't believe my luck.
How did you feel heading towards the birth?
I was very scared about it. I have PTSD, and this is something that I haven't heard anyone talking about. Have you read Sarah Hoover's book? I think it's called The Mother Lode, maybe. I really recommend it. She talks about having PTSD and having a baby and how people are going to be down there in a place where there's a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And so it was a thing that felt very stressful. And I think one of the worries as well is that part of the PTSD was that it was hard for me to fall asleep in a place where strangers could be.
Mm-hmm.
And the hospital were really, really brilliant and really listened to me about it. And they were incredible. And they were like, we'll give you your own room. Like, they were so kind and thoughtful about that. But yeah, it felt quite scary. I did all the things. I did all the hypnobirthing, and I really studied it to be I'm going to be as prepared as possible. And then of course everything just
I imagine more women go through that and have that worry, but it's not talked about at all.
Yeah,
I know that I've got a friend who, whenever she's going to any gynecological problem, it's a massive thing. And sadly I know that you won't be alone in that experience, but it's being at your most vulnerable.
That's it. And it feels in those moments where I'm trying to write about it at the moment. I think during your birth, you are perhaps in a place where you're not in control of your body anymore again. And it's very difficult when maybe the people around you are not completely aware of that or completely sensitive to that. The time I gave birth was maybe one of the worst times, apart from the beginning of the pandemic, because it felt like everyone was off sick at the hospital with COVID. And so people would come in and they'd be like, I haven't worked at this hospital in 2 years. It just called me up. And you're like, this is not ideal in any way. And so, yeah, nothing really went to plan. But she arrived healthy and safe. So there we go.
Well, so did you, because of your history, did you elect to have a C-section?
I didn't. I did all the hypnobirthing and all those kind of things, and the plan was to try and stay really present with it. And then there was a slight problem with the umbilical cord, and so they said they should induce me. And so obviously everyone with all the hypnobirthing says don't get induced. But then as soon as there's a problem, you're like, well, I'm not going to just leave her there. And so everyone said it would be more painful and all these kind of things. And so I looked into a cesarean, and then it just all became quite complicated. And so I was like, okay, I'll get induced, and I'll get an epidural because I know it's going to be more painful, and then, I'll be calmer. And then I think there was a lot of confusion because I think the confusion was because my waters didn't break.
Right.
And also, the whole thing was incredibly confusing. And then it's really hard to explain this, but there was a moment basically where technically, I guess you could look at it as Bobby fired the midwives.
What had they done?
It felt like nobody was listening to me, and I still had the pessary inside me, and I was telling them that I was in labour. I was timing it. I was doing all the things, and everyone was saying I was not in labour. And so it was a very confusing situation, and I was kind of there with all these people on top of me, which is exactly not what I wanted, with people down below. And Bobby was my spokesperson. That's what he was taught in the training, that he had to speak for me in those moments. And in that moment, I couldn't speak, and Bobby's very good at speaking. And so at one point he just said, everyone has to get out. And it was exactly what I wanted in that moment. Like it was all too much.
Yeah.
It felt like no one was listening to me. And I think it was probably I'm not blaming anybody, like they're understaffed, they're busy, it's a whole thing is happening. But it felt in that moment that I had no control and I was in a very panicked place again. And so everyone had to leave. And then there was a real panic when the two of us were like, oh no, we're in charge of delivering a baby. This is a nightmare. And then we were so lucky. They sent us this amazing midwife who was like, she was like Mary Poppins or something. She was just incredible, and she was very gentle and very supportive and very like in tune with me. She really made an effort to kind of tell me what was happening and listen to me, and we were very in sync. And so then but then I said, oh, can I get the epidural now? And she was like, oh no, it's way too late for that. And I was like, I've been telling people for ages that I'm in labour. I don't understand. I don't understand how this has happened. But yeah, it was all fine.
It's a horrible thing when you feel like your labour is sort of running away from you.
That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like I was saying, guys, but because it's maybe your first time giving birth, people they're not listening, and there's so much happening. I really am not blaming anybody right now. But yeah, it was not particularly ideal, I would say.
It's very hard to advocate for yourself in that scenario.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To kind of be really sort of firm with what you're saying and to be heard. And then the fact that Bobby was able to speak and almost have a reset is a great thing.
Yeah, it is. It really actually is. Like, he was probably a bit too firm, but he did manage to get across. Like, he could see that I was really struggling with it and that it was too much. And with PTSD, you can go, and that's not something that you want to relive when you're in those moments. And so yeah, he did completely reset it, and then yeah, it all worked out.
So after being told that there was no epidural, how did things go after that?
So then they were like, do you want morphine? And I was like, I've never even heard of that as an option. So you're like quickly trying to Google something while you're very much in labour. Like, will she like not be able to play the violin? Like if I take morphine, like I don't know what the repercussions of this are. And so I did end up taking it. And I don't know if it did really remove the pain. It definitely made me like really woozy. I had this amazing thing that happened. This is quite woo-woo. But while I was in labour, you kind of go into that space. Like I was just in my own world, and I just kept hearing the name Isabel over. Like it was just coming to me over and over again. This name Isabel, and it was crazy because we'd never mentioned the name Isabel before, and we'd mentioned the name Mabel maybe, but I just kept hearing Isabel. It was so weird. It just over and over again. I kept hearing Isabel, and anyway, then I gave birth, and it all was. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. Oh, she came out in the amniotic sac, so that was like a big
Whoa,
surprise.
Did all the midwives come in?
I think everyone was like, because that was, my waters hadn't broken, so that was part of the confusion. And so what happened was Bobby was kind of down at that end, and I said, what does she look like? And he went, don't worry about it, we'll see. Because he didn't know. And so he just looked like this squid, like this just like alien sack was coming out of me.
It's meant to be quite a magical thing.
Yeah, it's meant to be like a very lucky, like born in the cowl, the cowl, and she came out in that. So yeah, but then I spoke to my mum afterwards. I was like, yeah, everything's happened. She's born. It's perfect. And my mum said, I have to tell you this thing. It's so weird. When you're in labour, I just kept thinking of the name Isabel, and it's so weird because we never even mentioned it. It was the oddest thing that's ever happened in my life. It was like we were kind of like connected telepathically. Whoa. It's so odd.
Did you do anything with the name?
So it's Mabel Isabel. Yeah.
That is so weird.
It was so weird. And I'm not somebody that I've never had anything like that before.
Did you not just sit there and just try and talk to each other?
Yeah, exactly.
Mum,
I'm talking to her right now, actually. She's
Is she here?
into this. She's here with us. Yeah, she's in Canterbury. But she says hello. She loves your shirt.
Thanks.
But yeah, it was so odd. I think there is something maybe magic about that when you go into that trance of labour. I don't know. It's really
I don't think
weird.
a lot of people talk about that trance. You do go somewhere else.
Yeah, like, and we'd been doing the hypnobirthing, so I was like, you're really like kind of going into something, and I was really trying to follow that, but yeah, it was there's no way to describe that or explain that.
How did it feel to have Mabel in your arms?
Just the best feeling in the whole world. It was like, yeah, my buddy's here. It's like you hear so much about it and the feeling, and you just don't know what it's going to be like for you. You just have no. And I was so anxious my whole pregnancy. Like, I didn't have a baby shower because I just felt like I didn't want to tempt fate, and I just felt so anxious about it all. Like, I felt so anxious that I wasn't going to be a good enough mum, or I was going to be a selfish person, and that I wasn't going to be right. And then I just had her, and it all made sense.
That makes me really emotional, because I'm sure so many people feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, I just wasted so much time worrying about it. Like, I worried so much about it. And this is probably really bad advice, but I just sometimes think, just have the baby. Like, you waste so much time just like worrying about it, and then it's actually just easier when you have the baby. You just get on with it. Like, I was like, what if I don't have enough sleep? Like, I can get migraines, and I can be a bit sensitive, and I can be a bit this, and then what? And then you just do it. You just get on with it, because you just have this thing that you just love more than yourself. And she's just transformed my life. She just like raised the bar for everything in my life. It made me realise that my relationship was not. I didn't want her to grow up and see the relationship that I was in as what was right. It wasn't good enough for her. And so then it became a no-brainer that I had to leave, because it was the right thing for her. And I should have done that a long time ago, but then she wouldn't be here. So it's all worked out. It's all worked out exactly as it should have.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in that moment, or in those times, it's not a case of you even looking at that and going, it's not good enough for me. You know what I mean? It's the fact that actually now there's another little person who's in the equation who you don't want her to see that as normal, and her to aspire to that. And
I want her to grow up with a higher bar, I guess, of what is good enough, so that she doesn't have to have a child in order to see that. Like, I shouldn't have had to have a child to realise that my relationship was not good to me. And she just made everything very clear, and that was just life-changing.
Do you think you always knew that, and that you just didn't want to face it?
Yeah, the thing, Bobby has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder in this year, and that has been a very helpful way of framing everything and understanding. But obviously, if somebody has undiagnosed bipolar, their behaviour is not ideal to be in a relationship with. But the thing is with Bobby is he's a very good person, and he's always trying. He's always doing things to try, and like, he gave up drinking, he gave up drugs, he was like always trying to find therapy, he was always trying to get help, and he just couldn't get it, and so that was the thing, he was always trying. But then you have a baby, and it's too late, there's no more trying. And I think since having the freedom of not trying, in a way, it's allowed him to kind of get a diagnosis and work it out, so it's been
he's doing
brilliantly now. It's all kind of worked out, I guess.
Whereas actually, if the situation had stayed the same,
that's it. I was in it, and I was codependent, and I was like, you're like enabling it by allowing it to happen. So by
Did it take a while for you to get to that point, that realisation that you had to end things?
I think that there was a moment that it became very clear that it was not, and that I am actually really grateful about that, because I think for so many people it's a confusing thing, and my body was just like, no, that's it. It's not right for it's not the right environment, and so it was easy. Whereas for some people, I think it can go on for a long time, and it's, you're trying, and
it's that grey area, isn't it? It's that murky area that's
yeah.
very, very difficult to see.
Yeah, it was no longer murky. So yeah.
What were the newborn and those first few months and years like? Was that a current that lying through it, or were you able to also enjoy?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of enjoyment. It was chaos because I went back to work like very quickly.
Did you?
Because the thing is, like you're freelance, you have to get back to it. There's not really you don't get maternity pay. You don't it's not really a thing. And so yeah, a month after having her, I did a panel show, which was in hindsight too soon. At one point, I threw my shoe. I think I thought it was going to be funny. It really wasn't. And
that's just internal. The new mother within bit of rage. Okay.
And I remember Jo Brand, as I was leaving, she was like, "You look after yourself, Harriet." And I was like, "Okay, maybe this was a little bit too soon." And then we started going to comedy clubs. We'd bring, the clubs were amazing. We would bring Mabel, and she would be in the green room, and one of us would open the show and one of us would close it. And they were so welcoming and good, in a way that I think most traditional workplaces wouldn't be. And Bobby once, when we he doesn't look like the most traditional parent, maybe, that you'd imagine. One night we were doing Top Secret Comedy Club, and I was on stage, and he'd taken her for a walk around Soho. And what was amazing is that we could be with her all day, and then for 2 hours we'd drive in, we'd do the show, and then we'd come back, and we'd be with her all the time. And he took her for a walk around Soho, and a woman accused him of stealing a baby. Because he's pushing her in a tracksuit like 9 at night, and then you're like, yeah, I guess that's fair enough, maybe. But yeah, it was all of these things. I think in hindsight, you don't know what's right. I had friends that were on full maternity leave for a year, and I think that is wonderful. But I also think that it's so hard because you do that and then you suddenly have to go back to work full time. What a jarring thing. And you also, it feels like so many of them are meant to just give up any connection to their real lives. The dads are going back to playing football every week.
Yeah. After
having the kid, and the mum is just no, this is the time, and that means I have to look after this baby 24 hours a day. And so one of the things I'd worried about is that I'd felt like I'd worked so hard to find myself, is that I was worried that I was going to lose myself. And so I didn't, because I was straight back into it. Nothing had kind of stopped.
Well, and also though, for a decade you'd built that momentum of of your brand. Yeah. And you don't want to take a year out. That's a long time to not be available, to not take opportunities, to not be not in people's faces, but certainly continuing with that relationship.
I think it's also a fear that I wasn't going to want to go back. I think that was another thing, that it would be a thing where, and so I'm glad that I did it. It was maybe a bit brutal and it was a bit too soon, but it meant that I didn't ever lose myself, and I was worried that I wouldn't want to, and I was worried that I would lose the nerve maybe a little bit. And so, and also, I'm so lucky that this is my job, because it is just, back then it was just 20 minutes going to a club, doing a set, and I could be with her for the rest of the time. And also I could pick and choose a bit what I was doing. There's been many jobs when I would not want to go back to it a month after having a baby. So
So you said when you were pregnant, you felt really strong on stage. How did it feel postpartum being on stage?
It felt, it's such a blur. Who knows?
There's a lot about your state and how it was. It happened.
I think at that point you just think, good for me, to be standing here. Who knows? You'll have to ask the crowd. I have no idea. Probably not at my top. My brain wasn't operating at full capacity. We did take Mabel to Edinburgh when she was 9 months old, and did a full run there. And actually, it was, people are like, I can't believe you did that. And actually, it was amazing. It was my favourite Edinburghs. I think Edinburgh can become so you're so self-absorbed, and you're so in this bubble of yourself yourself and how many stars you've got and blah blah blah, and you just have this baby, and so all these other like big babies around you just don't take in, because like all that matters is keeping care of this baby. And I would go and do my show, and then I'd come back, and then Bobby would go do his show, and it kind of worked. It's got much harder now because we need like at the beginning it worked out, and then now it's very difficult because we need childcare in the evenings. But
because she needs to sleep in her bed.
She needs to sleep in her bed. Yeah, exactly.
No longer in a pram going around Soho.
For the first few months, it was, and we weren't doing it every night. Yeah. It was a thing to do to try and do it when you could and make some money. But yeah, it was a thing that I'm really glad that we did. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It was a bit mad, yeah, but the clubs were so supportive. They'd give us a room, and it just means you're with your baby all the time.
Well, how special though for her to be around that environment as well, an environment that you love.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be in a sticky basement when you're a newborn baby? But no, it was fun, and it was a bit mad, but yeah, now I try and keep her at home in her bed, and yeah, we have really good babysitters. Some of them we've had since like the very beginning, and it's like chaos organising it.
But the thing is, that's the only way you're ever going to be able to do it. Is that support network around you?
Yeah,
and when you work different hours and those opportunities aren't a 9 to 5, you've just got to do what you have to.
That's it. That's exactly it. You just have to make it work.
Yeah. Making it work, let's talk about co-parenting, because obviously when that shift happens, what you set out, what you imagined parenting to look like shifts with that.
Yeah.
And that's a massive leap, right? It's one thing to end a relationship, but it's another thing to kind of go, actually, now what I thought this was going to look like is different.
Yeah. And
I've heard you talk before about, Bobby, when he would have Mabel to start with, he'd be doing that in your home, and you'd kind of leave so that they had their time together. But that's a journey in itself, right? Is figuring out how that looks.
Yeah, at the beginning it was brutal. Like Bobby was so good for all of Bobby's flaws. In other ways, he's like exceptional in that he moved out and he let us stay in the home. Like he knew that would be like really hard for me and it would be hard for her. And so he moved out, and he would, when I would go away for work, he would come and stay. But yeah, there'd be days when it would be his time with Mabel, and I'd have to go and sit in a coffee shop, and I'd just sob, because I just think, if I hadn't made these choices, I could be with my baby right now. Like it's exceptionally hard to be. I have this conversation with people a lot where they say, oh, it must be so great getting that time away from your child. You get a bit of time to be you. And then I just always think instead married couples should be like, why are we doing everything together? Like, if that's what we want, we have that option available to us. You know what I mean? It's like forced on us. Why aren't you guys doing that? I don't understand. You're trying to do everything together. Go in and have some time, I don't want to have time away from her that's forced. But yeah, it's always felt really important that she has a wonderful relationship with him. That's always felt incredibly important. And he feels the same about me, and we are very supportive of each other's happiness as well, which I think is it's not always been easy, but at the end of the day, I think underneath it all, we do want each other to live full good lives.
Yep. Because that filters through to Mabel.
This is exactly it. And like I've gone on trips like snowboarding with friends, and he's like, yeah, do it. You love that. You'll come back and you'll be energized, and that would be a brilliant thing. And I think one of the things I've really had to work on is like, sometimes you can get a bit like in your head, you can be like, oh, this is so hard and it's so difficult. And then you just have to reframe it and just be like, no, you're so lucky. And like, there's times like in the middle of the night when you're on your own and she's sick or she won't sleep, and you're just like, oh God, if I had a partner, it'd be so much better. And then you just think, no, if Bobby be here, we'd be arguing and this would be so much worse. I can just do this myself, and then it's calm and fine. And so it's just always trying to reframe it in that way is what I'm trying to do, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that thing of as Mabel gets bigger and, life continues, you'll find new ways continuously.
Yeah.
Of working together.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And there's, it's going to be, there's going to be challenges for sure, but yeah, it feels a bit like we're out of the woods a little bit. Yeah.
And that can feel so far away, I think, when you first take a step into that world. You know what I mean? That the idea of stepping on the other side, stepping through and going the other side of a break and things being calmer and working together, it can feel like really far and a giant leap.
Yeah, it was. I can't even put myself back there right now. I just knew it was the right thing, which made it easy because it was the right thing for Mabel. And then it's very difficult because you have people kind of in your ear and you read things and people saying, you should stay together for the kids and all this kind of thing. Like, that is such a big rhetoric that's still around. And I just disagree with it so strongly. Yeah. I think it's so important that you're your happiest, best self, and that she grows up seeing I think now she's going to see two like healthy, functioning adults, and hopefully, we'll find other relationships and we'll be happy and we'll be able to have like the knowledge and the peace to find partners where it's like very stable, and she'll see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about dating, how is that as a mum? Is it different to pre-mum life?
It's so different. It's so funny. I was before, when I was single, I was just like, you just do whatever. You don't even think about it. And then I kind of came out of this marriage, and I did like, I very foolishly just thought I'd be married forever. I just thought we'd make it work and it would be forever. And so suddenly I found myself single, and I like took on this kind of role as like prude mother. You're like, excuse me, I'm a mother. Like the idea of having sex with somebody, or like, I was like, I couldn't even wrap my head around it. It just felt so alien, like I'd been in a monogamous relationship for over a decade. It just felt crazy. Like,
well, and dating now, is it very different to what dating used to be like before anyway?
Yes, because also I have this bar. Before I was just, I'll help them. I'll be with this person who will work it out. I was in my early 20s. It's chaos. And now I have this bar of, I know I've learned that love isn't enough. And like, that sounds brutal, but it's true. You have to have other things with it that need to tick the boxes. And I had to learn that the hard way. Now I just know so much more. And so it's really hard to let go. But I think that's a good thing. I'm just very particular, I think, because in order to bring me and Mabel's life is so wonderful that to bring anyone into it, they'd have to be so great.
I love that you describe your life in that way. Do you know what I mean? To I think for anyone listening who might be in a position where they know they have to get out, but the idea of getting out is too big.
Yeah.
To that thought of, will we ever find our feet? Will we ever be happy? You don't have to stay in an unhappy place.
No, it's so much better. You feel so much stronger, and you feel so much like it's the peace. I have a podcast about dating single ladies in your area with my friend Amy, and we talk about the peace that you can be, whatever is happening, it's peaceful. You can create your own peace, and you don't ever have to get back into that situation again. And that's a thing that, and what comes with that is there's an element of loneliness at times. Like, it's so brilliant and full on, and hard and wonderful, and then you put them to bed and it's very quiet. And that's something I'm so lucky I'm out like so much with work, but on those evenings when I'm home, I have found that a bit tricky when I'm like, now she's in bed, like my body's in bed, and like you can't go anywhere. And so that is trickier, I think. But you just have to learn how to be with yourself. And it's what is kind of good now is there is the apps and things, and so you don't have to be going to bars or doing all these things. You can you can meet somebody when you're at home, you know, like all these things are available. And I just think that peace is something that is just the most important thing, you know, like, and then you will be your best self with your child, you know. Like, I would have been such a worse parent if I had stayed in that relationship, because I wouldn't have had any space, I think, maybe. And so I am so much happier, and it's hard, and there's so much factors to take into account, like like other reasons why people would stay in relationships that aren't right, like financial and things like that. Like it's a very it's not an easy decision, but yeah, I do recommend it if you can.
It's also interesting, I guess, in terms of dating now. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I feel like dating was all about finding someone, being good enough for them to ask you to marry them, you know, and then persuading them to have a baby with you. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
Whereas I imagine dating now, you're not chasing that.
Yeah.
Now it is about pure connection. Do you know what I mean? It's not, it's a very different thing. And it's crazy that as young women, that's kind of where
I know,
we were
even
all
in my
sort of-
early 20s,
Yeah.
I was thinking of, I do want to have a child. So
And when will you ask me?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
the power is all on the other side.
Yeah, and now I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
Like it's only if they're going to make our lives better, which is going to be hard to do, guys. You know, like all the best with that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I did want more children, and that is something that I would be open to. But you know, there's so many other ways of doing it. Like if I was to meet someone with kids, or you know, I'm open to adopting, and also, you know, I have enough. I have it all. So it's a weird thing where you just suddenly. I was talking to Rosie Jones about it at the beginning of the year, and I was in a bit of a grump. I gave up drinking for like 6
Dry
months.
jam? No, 6 months.
6 months, yeah, nearly 5.5. But I think I'd found myself, you know, like every evening having a couple of drinks,
Yeah.
and to try and escape maybe, and I needed to like sit with those feelings. And I cannot tell you how grumpy I was for about 3 months. I was complaining to everybody and I was being so grumpy, but it was like I had to just like go through it, I think, and feel it, and feel like my annoyance and my frustration about the feelings. And you know, and I from the beginning was very much like, the next person I meet has to be my husband, and I'm not going to make him another mistake again. I'm not going to fall for anything, and I'm going to just meet the right guy. And it was just so it was just too much. And Rosie was like, you're in this amazing stage of your life and you need to reframe it, because I felt quite fearful about it. And she was like, no, it's actually a really positive thing. Like anything can happen. That's amazing. Like any wonderful thing could happen, and you're looking for the perfect person for the rest of your life, but that doesn't necessarily exist. You might meet someone that's wonderful. Like you don't look back at Bobby as a mistake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both kind of grew up together,
Yeah.
and you might meet somebody else that you're meant to take the next
next chapter of
the
your
next
life,
chapter
yeah.
with, and then you meet someone that's, you know, when you're 60 or 70, and you just don't know what's going to happen now. And so I think that really helped kind of reframe it a bit.
That's
But
really beautiful.
ideally, I just meet the right person, and then we can just call off the search. You know what I mean? Like ideally, that just happens. But if not, we'll go with Rosie's.
Has motherhood been what you thought it would be?
No. I really thought it would be. Like, it's incredibly hard at times, and it's so tiring. And I really miss like sitting down and watching TV. Like I miss that so much. And it's the endless tasks are crazy. But I did think it would be, and I only have one child, so I think it is difficult. It is different. But I just thought I couldn't comprehend the love of it. I just didn't. I'm such a I don't know what the word is, but I'm so bad at imagining what things are like until they're actually happening. I just couldn't imagine it. And then now it's she just makes everything better. It's wonderful. I wish she could be with me. Actually, I take that back. I don't wish like it's there's things you have to do, but yeah, just having her around is great. It's better than I thought it would be, for sure.
And are you proud of yourself for the mum that you are?
I think so. You know, like you're always trying to be better, and my mum is I think she's always thinking about snacks and all these kind of things that I'm not necessarily the best at, like planning and having everything ready. And
are you still worried that you're not living up to your mum's standards?
I think it's like sometimes like leaving the house can be so hard and overwhelming, and then you're like, oh my god, I forgot the yogurt drink. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, you know, like a mum should have all the snacks and all the things, you know. And I'm not necessarily the best at thinking of all of that, but I'm so much better than Bobby. So in that respect, there's a very low bar that I can.
I also think that on that logistical level, you've got to let yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
Like a few weeks ago, I forgot it was non-uniform day. Today, I forgot the football kits. Yes, the kids should all be on top of their own, their own stuff. But it is that thing that the balls get dropped, but it's about really figuring out someone said to me once about these glass balls and these plastic balls, right? The glass balls are the ones that have to stay in the air. They are so fragile. You cannot let them drop. A PE kit, that's a bit of a plastic ball. It's fine. But actually being there and providing love and presence and guidance, that is the glass ball. PE kits, whatever, they'll get over it. So what? It's fine. It's a bit embarrassing that you've not gone in uniform, but they know that they're loved.
Character building, actually they're going to be very good characters. Yeah,
Harriet, I have no doubt, just from this one conversation, that the things that are important are your glass balls, and you are keeping them in the air.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it just sometimes can feel so chaotic, You're just like, oh God, you've got to keep everything right, and everything gets a little bit out of control, It can feel like, and then you're like, I've just got to make sure that everything in her life is calm, and that you come home and that you're present and that you're stable. And I've given her my eczema,
Just one more thing to feel guilty about.
Just another thing to add to the list. And so yeah, it's a thing where I'm always trying to improve in my life, I guess. I'm always trying to get better at everything. I guess that's why I like stand-up. It's a thing you can always try and get better at. And so I see parenting as the same thing. And Bobby is sometimes very helpful in this. Like he's very open-minded, and he's always kind of reading about things and being like, actually, this is a better way of framing it. Or I read this thing. And so that is very helpful.
Sounds like you're still both very thoughtful towards each other.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I had I've been having my floors redone the last 2 days, and he's been so sweet. He's kind of come round and he sat in to help with it. Then he carried all these pallets in, and his his thinking is that I'm the mother of his child, and so it's the best thing for Mabel if it's her floor as well. So I feel so lucky for that. Like I definitely. I've obviously made a lot of mistakes, but I picked somebody who is a great dad, and he is a great. It's been a road, but he means really well, and he is he's very kind to me when he's taking his pills, which is. Which is the real him, which is the real him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you realise that you're enough as a mum?
Oh God, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I have grown up so much through being a parent and having to really pull myself together. And so, yeah, not every day, but yeah.
If you could write a letter on being a mum, who would it be to, and what would you say?
I think it would just be to me, past me, I guess, either sorry, this is the most emotional interview I've ever done.
I'm so sorry that I've done this to you.
I listened to some of your other episodes and people weren't sobbing the whole way through. What is happening? It would be to me in the past, just to say that everything's going to be okay, I guess. And it will all work out for the best. Yeah.
Because the fear is the fear, right?
It's the fear. Yeah. There's so much fear and anxiety, and I think one of the I have anxiety, and and it's been worse and better at different points. And I think having a child is something so unknown and so scary. And actually, I think one of the things I say to friends that have anxiety is that actually it's not an alien thought when you have a child.
It's been an hour. It's been an hour.
I think what can be really overwhelming is the anxiety that comes when you have a child. If you've never experienced anxiety or haven't had very much, it can be because, you are obviously always thinking about the worst things that can happen just to keep the child safe. Your brain is putting you in that place. Whereas if you've had anxiety in your life and you're worried about having a child because of the anxiety that will come, you've already got those anxiety muscles. Like, you're already used to it. Like, those anxious thoughts aren't new. Like, you know how to deal with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does make sense. Harriet, we end the podcast with you completing 3 sentences. The first one is being a mum means.
Being a mum means that you will watch so much less TV, but you will be so much happier for it. Look, you'll watch so much less TV that you want to watch. Actually, maybe that's a better way of saying it.
It's so funny. Like, I think about this often. I can remember growing up. I know we only had like 4 or 5 channels, but we used to watch what my parents wanted to watch.
Yes, I was thinking this exactly the other day.
No, I don't understand how I'm sat down watching Bluey. My mum and dad would not have watched Bluey. I love Bluey. I think the dad is a genius. The mum is amazing. The kids are creative. However, growing up, we absolutely would not have had that.
This is so true. All we watch is her shows. I remember Sunday afternoons, it'd be like Formula One or something.
Yes.
Like, that would be all that
or
was
3
on.
hours of EastEnders.
Yes, exactly.
Or omnibus of different...
Yeah.
Even though you've watched it in the week, we'd still watch the omnibus.
So yeah, I miss TV. I'll come back to it at some point.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
The next sentence is, since having a child,
Since having a child, I've grown up, I guess. And I didn't, for so much of my 20s, like, I didn't want to grow up. I didn't want to kind of be the adult.
Yeah.
And actually, I love it. It's great. It's nothing to be kind of afraid of, like, I was so worried about losing my freedom and, like, not being able to go clubbing, but it's like, I haven't been clubbing in 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to go clubbing really. Like, it's you think you're gonna lose things, and actually you gain things. It's not things that you ever wanted to do. If you still want to do them, you can do them. It's all possible. It's just how you frame it, I think.
Yeah. And I'm happy when
I'm with Mabel, but ideally I'm sat down. We're together, but I'm not chasing her around somewhere. We went to this Gabby's Dollhouse screening the other day, and she ran off, and then I saw her like looking at me like, I'm gonna run, and I was like, God damn it, when they're looking at you and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna run. And so when you're not chasing after a child and you're sat down and you're together and it's peaceful,
those moments of calm.
Yeah, for 1 minute a day, I'm so happy.
Harriet, thank you so much. Thank you. I honestly, like, I say a lot about people coming on and just sharing so openly and honestly, but I feel like you've really given us a piece of your heart. I really do. Like, it's not often I just sit here and laugh and weep with someone. And thank you, because I do feel like when it comes to divorce, when it comes to separation, when it comes to co-parenting, not enough is said about it, which means that so many people stay in situations where they're not happy. Yeah. So many people like try and work through this murky time, not really knowing how to, or that there will be happiness at the other side. So thank you for coming on and just sharing us more of your heart.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.